Welcome back, brothers, and thank you for waiting patiently. I know that you guys have been waiting for the content from the trip and all of its goodness. And if you guys are liking the content that we're putting out and are anxious to see these videos, go ahead and hit that like button down in the corner. That definitely helps us out and would appreciate that. The reason it's been taking me so long, if you haven't seen the posts on Instagram and on YouTube yet, my computer has crashed. It was in the middle of the road trip. I was editing the footage from when we left here to go to Denver, and all of that footage got lost because the computer crashed. I had a couple of people come over here and try and help me recover any of the information from the hard drive, which has a lot of my business stuff on it too. You know who you are. I really appreciate all the help and the effort to try and recover this stuff to make it what we need here, but we weren't able to recover any of that stuff. So unfortunately, I lost all that footage. So today, basically just gonna do a little storytelling and give you guys the insight of what actually happened from when we left here to Denver, because all the rest of the footage from Denver on and getting back home, I have that footage. So I'll show that to you guys here. Coming up here, I'm in the middle of editing that now. Anyways, 2 o'clock is our departure time, is what we planned for, 2 in the morning, a.m. on Thursday. We had most of us got like no sleep. I know Allie didn't get here till fairly late, and she was helping pack up stuff. Me and Nate were here at the shop until like 7:30, just to, you know, satisfy all the customers that we had going on that day. And we didn't pack like anything, just because the week before and leading up to it was just nuts trying to get everything together. So we had nothing packed, nothing ready to go. None of us really had any sleep. I think Robbie was the one who had the most amount of sleep because he actually got a full night, or most of a full night. But yeah, it was pretty interesting because we had a 25-hour drive. It took us 25 whole hours to get out there and on no sleep, which was kind of dangerous. And you'll see in the rest of this video, you got to keep watching to hear the data. But so we left here about 3 once we got loaded up, got everything in all the cars. We had walkie-talkies in the cars, which made it so much nicer of a drive. We all kept communication, knew what was going on, laughing and joking and having a good time through all of it, all the stuff that we saw along the trip, which was really exciting. But left here in the dark, traveling through, things were going smooth. We're in the Cobalt. Part of the way through the trip, we were like, this car seems to be getting a little bit louder. I think something's going on with this exhaust. And then all of a sudden, it's like, this thing is stupid loud. Like, what has happened to this exhaust? We finally pull over, get to a gas stop. We can't hear a damn thing, and get under the car, and the muffler, the newest thing on the car, literally the last thing that was on the car that was the newest product, blew out. Like, the welds cracked on it. It blew a huge hole in the muffler, which got worse and worse as the trip went on. And it was so loud you couldn't hear like yourself think. It would like literally vibrate your brain, your face. You felt it. It was just so obnoxious. So when we stopped to assess the situation, you know, obviously it was blown out. I'm like, all right, well, let's find a shop around here that can give us a quick fix, an exhaust shop. We called like 6 or 7 different shops. Everybody's like, no, we have no time today. We're booked out till next week. You know, we can't do any of that stuff. It's like, Jesus, we're like 16 hours still from Denver, and nobody's available to help us out. So it's one of those things where it's like, what are we gonna do? We have a tight schedule as it is, because, you know, 25 straight hours and then all the other hours on top of that to get where we were going. And we're like, screw it. I guess we're just gonna ride with it, because we won't really have an option. We can't waste a bunch of hours sitting here waiting for somebody to open up. And so we're like, all right, put the earplugs in and let's ride. So we just kept on going. Kudos to Eric, because he never wore earplugs. Everybody else was like, nobody wanted to drive the car. Everybody wore earplugs. Saw some pretty cool scenery, which was nothing compared to the Denver scenery, or the Colorado and Utah, which you gotta see that video. If you guys like landscapes and scenery, wait till the next video. It's beautiful. And so we're driving through Kansas, which was really cool. And I really wish I had those shots, because the sun was setting when we got into Kansas, and there was these big, huge rolling hills, and there was just landscape, very wide open plains, and the sun was setting, and I got some amazing rolling shots. One that I was gonna use as a thumbnail because it was just so beautiful, with like the Cobalt and the Mustang side by side with the sun in the background, and you can see the hills and everything. It was gorgeous, it really was. And I'm really upset, because just for the picture aspect of that, I wish I got that, because it looks so good. So as it got darker, it got way less entertaining because at least you had something to look at. And we were getting tired at this point. I mean, once it got dark, we were driving for a good 18, 19 hours at that point, since we started so early. And we got to this one part where you start seeing these red blinking lights. And you're like, okay, you know, light tower or power lines that make sure that the planes don't hit it. But then as we got closer, you could just see red lights all over the horizon. As far as you could see on the horizon, there's just red lights, just blinking. We're like, what the hell is that? That's crazy. Nate ended up looking it up, and it's wind farms, which that had to have been, I don't know how many wind turbines out there, but you could not see where they stopped. It was just red lights blinking all over the place. It was so crazy. And which we finally got to see some in Texas, actually during the day, which you'll see in that video. But it was so cool. It was really surreal, and being able to see that. And then not long after seeing all that, we're in Kansas at this point, and we had our cop radars out. We get we get the signal that there's possibly a cop up there, so we slow down a little bit, and we're cruising along, and the radar won't go off. We're like, okay, so there must be a cop either on the road with us, or he's just getting us from a really long distance. And next thing we know, there's a car coming up from behind us. We're all in a pretty long line. Stopped in behind, I think Jake and Nate were the last in the Cobalt. Kind of sat there, read the plate for a little bit, moved up to the Mustang, read his plate for a little bit, and then I was in the Volvo in the front. And he's like, all right, then the lights came on, pulled us all over. He stopped in the middle of the road pretty much and wouldn't let any of us go. He pulled all three of us over at the same time. We're like, oh boy, here we go. Getting pulled over on the first leg of the trip here. And so he comes over and he's like, you guys must have been going, he says, what was he? So he finally comes up to the window, and he was a little confused because I'm driving Nate's car, Nate's driving my car, and Eddie with the Mustang, Robbie was driving it, it's not his car. And the guy was just confused because we had to swap paperwork and show him all the stuff for it, and it was just kind of a cluster. Then he's telling us, he's like, I got you going 87 in a 75, but I know you were going faster than that because I got calls from a couple counties over telling them that you guys were coming my way, and there's no way you got to my county that fast going 87 miles an hour. And it's like, I was going 87, what are you talking about? So, he proceeds to tell me, I see you guys are from PA, right? He's like, well, out there, you got some deer, but they're about this tall. But out here, you got deer, and they're this tall. And then when you get into Colorado, you got elk, and they're big. And he's like, if you hit one of those elk and you survive, you let me know. Because you're gonna die if you hit one. He's gonna end up in your lap, in your front seat, and you ain't gonna be alive no more. And it was like really funny, but the guy's talking at me. I'm obviously not laughing, but it's just really funny. And then he finally pulls us out of the car. It's like 30-mile-an-hour winds, and he's reading us the tickets all at one time so that he doesn't have to repeat himself. And my hat blows off. I gotta go run and get it in the field, and he's just explaining everything. And he's like, at the end of it, he's like, you guys have any other questions? I was like, well, I have one other question. Can I take a picture? And he's like, yeah, I guess. And he's like really weird about like, why do you want a picture of this? I was like, of course I want a picture. It's a good thumbnail. It's good for the content, people. But of course I lost that picture and the footage for that. I actually had the GoPro sitting in Eric's lap, rolling, and I know that we got some of the content. I don't know if you saw anything because it was so dark, but I know that we got some of the audio. I wasn't able to actually watch all that because I was gonna edit it later. But yeah, so we lost all that. There was a lot of cool stuff I wish we got or kept from that trip, that part of the trip. But it was wild. And then we were about 3 hours out from Denver at that point. We're all just tired. Like Monster, the energy drinks just aren't doing it much for us anymore. And we're just trying to get to Denver because we're tired. I mean, it's been, at this point, it's like 22 hours of driving and we're exhausted and we're driving along. I remember me driving the Cobalt. It wasn't like, when you start seeing things, it wasn't like a hard visual, but it was almost like a silhouette of like a tractor trailer going past my, you know, out of my peripheral. I was like, whew, I'm definitely getting tired. I'm definitely getting tired. Jake was saying he saw some dude walking. I was in the passenger seat and he's driving. He just kind of like quick, like, oh. I'm like, dude, you all right? He's like, dude, I swear I saw somebody walking across the road. I'm like, geez, we need to get there. We need to get to sleep. At this point, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and we've been driving since, you know, 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock the day before. So it was very dragging on all of us. It was such a journey, but we were all so hyped and so excited. I mean, to drive 25 straight hours, if it wasn't for the fact that we had all of the drivers that we had and all the people, we would have never made it that far. And after experiencing that and doing that, I have so much more respect for the guys at Cannonball, because first of all, the speeds that they're traveling at to be able to make that time across the country is out of control. And the fact that they stay up and they're just alert and there's just always something going on where they're watching the scanners, they're watching the roads, they're driving at high speeds. It's just amazing. I mean, I already had respect for those guys, but now that I've done some of that myself, driving 25 straight hours, that is out of control, out of control. I might have to do it someday. I need a fast car first. But yeah, and then finally, 4 o'clock in the morning, we made it to Denver, and it was cool. You kind of come up into Denver, it's all flat plains, and then all of a sudden it's like, here's the city. We came in on the industrial side, coming in from 70, and there's not real much before you get to Denver. All of a sudden it's just start seeing some industry, start seeing warehouses and industrial parks of various types, but it was fantastic. If I got the chance to do it again, I will do it again. I definitely will. And I'm really glad that we did this. I'm glad that you, James, are the one that won this, because this whole trip was so worth it. But really, I feel like it was just a teaser. I don't want to give you guys too many details because this is only the first leg of the journey here. I'm hoping that this gives you a good feel of what the journey was like going from here to Denver in 25 hours. It was an amazing ride, and I just can't wait to edit this stuff and really put it out there for you guys to see it. But if you guys are enjoying it and want to see the rest of the trip, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit the notification so you'll get them as soon as I put the videos up. And I will see you guys on the next one.